deadly drug disguised to look like candy is now circulating in Georgia. It's called rainbow fentanyl.
A substance so lethal that a dose smaller than a few grains of salt could end a life is now being packaged to resemble children's candy. This is the reality unfolding across Georgia right now, where a synthetic opioid crisis has morphed into something far more sinister. What federal agents discovered in a quiet neighborhood would shake the foundation of how we understand drug trafficking in America. The question isn't whether cartels have infiltrated our communities, it's how deeply they've embedded themselves before anyone noticed.
One of the greatest concerns is exposure and the unintentional exposure of children.
Just before sunrise on an otherwise ordinary morning in Jefferson, Georgia, the silence was shattered. The thunder of coordinated breaches echoed through residential streets as heavily armed federal units converged on a single address. Flashbangs illuminated windows. Commands pierced the darkness. Within moments, what neighbors assumed was just another house on their block transformed into the epicenter of a multinational criminal investigation. This wasn't a routine drug bust. This was the unmasking of a military-grade operation hiding in plain sight, complete with weaponry you'd expect to see in a war zone, not suburbia.
Following a massive ICE raid at a Hyundai plant in Georgia, officials say roughly 450 undocumented migrants were apprehended.
Federal authorities code-named their response Operation Take Back America, and the name carried weight. This multi-agency task force brought together the FBI, DEA, ICE, and Homeland Security in a synchronized assault spanning 3 Georgia cities. Athens, Atlanta, and Jefferson became battlegrounds in what officials described as a domestic counter-narcotics war. The target was a sophisticated distribution network with direct connections to Mexico's most powerful criminal syndicate. Intelligence gathering had been underway for months, with wiretaps revealing a level of operational security that rivaled legitimate businesses. When agents finally executed their warrants, they weren't just shutting down a drug house, they were dismantling a corporate structure built on violence and addiction.
It was a battlefield moment in America's war against the cartels.
What awaited investigators inside defied expectations. Kitchen counters were buried under kilogram-sized bricks of cocaine and methamphetamine. Fentanyl powder was scattered across surfaces, each particle capable of causing an overdose. But the narcotics, as staggering as they were, weren't the most alarming discovery. Hidden throughout the property, agents recovered 26 firearms, not small handguns for personal protection, but combat-ready rifles and tactical weapons. The crown jewel of this horrifying collection was a military-grade grenade launcher, the kind of weapon designed for battlefield deployment, not residential neighborhoods. Forensic analysis later confirmed the launcher was functional, its serial numbers deliberately erased to prevent tracing. This wasn't drug dealing, this was infrastructure for armed conflict on American soil.
Led by repeat offender Orlando Muckle, had been operating even longer since October 2020, moving over 400 grams of fentanyl.
At the center of this operation stood a figure known by his street name, Chato. Federal prosecutors identified him as a 48-year-old Mexican national with documented ties to the Sinaloa cartel, one of the most powerful and violent drug trafficking organizations on the planet. His criminal history painted a disturbing picture: previous convictions for drug trafficking, time served, and then, upon release, an immediate return to the trade. But this time, he'd evolved. Surveillance records showed Chato operating with corporate efficiency, using encrypted communication, college rental properties as distribution hubs, and local businesses as money laundering fronts. He'd transformed drug trafficking into a business model complete with supply chains, logistics networks, and enforcer personnel. The American dream perverted into a narcotics empire. When agents tallied the final inventory, the numbers told a chilling story. 26 kilograms of cocaine, street value approaching $750,000. 1.7 kilograms of pure fentanyl, enough toxicologists calculated to produce over 850,000 lethal doses. That's not a typo. A single operation contained enough poison to theoretically kill nearly 7 million people. Add to that 500 grams of methamphetamine, crack cocaine, marijuana, and over 100 counterfeit pharmaceutical pills designed to mimic legitimate prescriptions. The financial impact exceeded $900,000 in seized assets, but the human cost, the lives that would have been destroyed by this poison reaching the streets, remains incalculable. Every brick represents someone's child, someone's parent, someone's future erased.
Now, Thursday's raid was carried out by multiple state and federal law enforcement agencies, including ICE, the FBI, and the Georgia State Patrol. I want to bring in CNN's Isabel Rosales.
Perhaps most disturbing was the location. These weren't isolated rural compounds or abandoned industrial zones. Cartel operatives had embedded themselves within Athens's college community, operating literally blocks from the University of Georgia campus. Students walking to lectures passed by safe houses daily, without realizing it. Surveillance footage later revealed what appeared to be routine deliveries, drivers exchanging packages in parking lots, conducting what looked like innocent errands. Neighbors reported seeing nothing suspicious, just ordinary residential activity. That's the terrifying sophistication of modern trafficking. It doesn't announce itself. It blends, adapts, and operates under the camouflage of normalcy until federal agents with battering rams expose the truth beneath. The drug seizures were only surface level. ICE Homeland Security investigations uncovered a money laundering apparatus that would impress Wall Street analysts. Shell companies registered to vacant storefronts. A tire shop that hadn't sold merchandise in years somehow processed $63,000 weekly through Chinese underground banking networks. Cryptocurrency wallets camouflaged cartel profits through legitimate-looking transactions. Blockchain analysis revealed spikes in digital activity that perfectly coincided with shipment schedules. The cartel hadn't just learned to move drugs, they'd mastered 21st century finance, turning dirty money clean through layers of digital obscurity that took federal cyber units months to penetrate. The Georgia operation didn't exist in isolation. Federal intelligence connected these networks to interdictions thousands of miles away. At the port of Houston, authorities had recently intercepted over 1,000 barrels of precursor chemicals originating from China, destined for Sinaloa cartel manufacturing facilities in Mexico. These chemicals would eventually synthesize into the fentanyl flooding American streets, including Georgia. The supply chain revelation was staggering. Raw materials from Asia, processing in Mexico, distribution through college towns in the southeast, a global assembly line of death, with each component operating independently, yet synchronized with frightening precision. Digital forensics provided the operation's most valuable intelligence. Seized laptops and burner phones contained encrypted communications that, once cracked, revealed the network's true scope. Messages referenced blue bag and summer heat code phrases for shipments and payments. What stunned investigators was discovering the cartel had somehow learned the FBI's own operation codename, Project Summer Heat, and incorporated it into their communications. This suggested either an incredible coincidence or a security breach of terrifying implications. How deep had cartel intelligence penetrated American law enforcement? The question kept federal agents awake at night, knowing their adversaries might be listening even as they planned their next move. An escalation soon proved the cartel's sophistication. Local law enforcement reported unidentified drones hovering above an evidence storage facility in Jackson County. The devices vanished before interception, but analysis of their design revealed custom-built retrieval systems, payload hooks capable of lifting small packages like hard drives or documents. This wasn't reconnaissance. This was a message. We're still watching. Federal cyber units responded by freezing 7 digital wallets, containing over $900,000 in suspected cartel proceeds. The battlefield had expanded beyond physical space into the digital realm, where every transaction and every encrypted message became ammunition in an invisible war. At the official press briefing, a U.S. attorney stood before cameras and seized weapons displayed like trophies. His words carried measured authority. This operation proves that when we act as one, we can strike fear into organizations that profit from American deaths. Behind the rhetoric, families in Jefferson and Athens processed a darker reality. The enemy hadn't been oceans away, but living next door, camouflaged by suburban normalcy. 17 suspects now await trial on federal conspiracy charges. For Chato, prosecutors sought the maximum, life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. But even as courtroom proceedings began, agents knew dismantling one network simply created a vacuum for others to fill. If this report revealed a threat you didn't know existed, if you believe communities deserve protection from foreign criminal invasion, take action. Subscribe to stay informed about operations most media never cover. Comment your thoughts on how we can combat this crisis. Share this report, because awareness is the first line of defense. Silence protects cartels. Your voice amplifies truth.